I
morning.
almost got caught off guard.
Oh, okay, yeah, you were dancing to the sync tune. But of course, good morning, Freetown. Good morning, Sierra Leone. Welcome to Wake Up Sierra Leone on AYV TV. We're also live on radio on FM 101.7. My name is Bokari Matia.
And I am Fabian Swale. Whether you're watching us this morning or listening to us from the provinces or right here in the capital city, Freetown, on channel 33 or on DSTV channel 399 from across Africa or wherever, good morning and welcome.
You can also watch us online from around the world on this beautiful day, the 30th of June, 2026.
We're broadcasting live from the top of Tower Hill in the heart of the city. You can send us your comments through our socials on AYV News Facebook page on the stories that we cover.
And talking on the stories we're covering here this morning, coming up today, we shall discuss exclusively the lack of proper drainage, clean water and toilet facilities in crowded informal settlements that often leads to disease outbreaks, including cholera.
Now, despite the hazardous living conditions and lack of basic services, many urban poor remain in these coastal and riverbank slums because the communities sit on vast economic potentials.
And as we are in the rainy season, we'll explore in depth into the life at Susan's Bay, Crew Bay, Porty Wharf, and Sopit community, all located across Freetown.
We will be discussing the new prices, the reduction in petroleum products, as there's a drop from 35 leones to 32 for petrol and from 40 to 35 for diesel, respectively.
We shall also bring you live broadcast from Makeni on President Bio's town hall meeting later today.
Well, before we delve into all what's coming up in the program today, let's get a quick word from our sponsor, Wakeup Commercial Bank, which will be followed by other advertisers. Grab yourself a cup of tea or coffee and join this morning's conversation. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
More and more people are using Wakeup SIM Copper Plus in their everyday lives. Did you hear that? She just transferred money for her daughter's school fees. And this man just paid for some products. Ah, Mr. Abu, are you sending money to your wife again?
Yes, like a local SIM couple.
Ah.
Yes, like having money in my pocket.
Ah, excellent.
Thank you.
He just bought some eggs. The world is digital, so keep up with the times. Have you got a payment to make? If so, just download Wakeup SIM Copper Plus now. You can download the Wakeup SIM Copper Plus app from Apple iStore and iPad or Google Play Store for Android users. You see, it's fast, safe and reliable.
Sorry, car, go see some business partners.
You didn't give me memory, Michael. Can if I kiss I give me this car people in not to Indy. Michael, today you pay me money. I don't send it for let you help me send money in Ghana. 2 weeks now you not send me money and 10 you not give me back me money. Today, give me money.
You know, ever sabi goodness in life. I dey send back your money, but trust me, today na the very last day I dey ever send money for now.
I don't need your help because I don't know so with Afri money. I dey able send money. Now Baku Africa countries them with Afri money. We dey able send money to over 10 African countries, whether it's Ghana, Gambia, Liberia, or Kenya. If me party didn't know this, we not follow the party grammar right now.
Okay, una go regret. I mean, now una go regret.
The best part right now, Michael, with Afri money, you dey able send money, even if you not use app, even if you not the online, directly. All you need for do, you just a dial *161#. Pam, your money don't go. So I don't need the help again. Thief man.
Thank you.
Send money to over 10 African countries instantly with Afri Money. No stress, no excuses. Just dial *161*1*6# now. Afri Money, quick and easy.
Every day feels better with peace of mind, and peace of mind starts with preparation. Unexpected moments can happen anytime, but with the right insurance, you're always one step ahead. At J-Man Insurance, we help you protect what matters most: your life, your family, your future. Don't wait for what if. Prepare for what's next. Get covered today and move forward with confidence.
Good to see your face again. It's been a very crazy day. The joyous feeling in the air when rain falls on a sunny day. Happy, yeah. Let the stars, let the roll.
Enjoy life's little pleasures with Maltina. Maltina, share happiness.
As mama, I always want waiting best for me picking them, especially when it comes up waiting them for eat and drink. Now this make I always they choose Sarah juice because they make come from with local foods them and nutritious and it gets less sugar than the other drinks them. Not to me say so.
We lab test show say Sierra juice gets 50% less sugar than the other drinks them na the market.
Because we mama they know waiting best for we picking them, now you make we always they choose Sierra juice. Sierra juice is nutritious, it's healthy and it's sweet. Sierra juice, not the taste of Salone.
Welcome back. A quick reminder, this is Wake Up Sierra Leone on AYV television and radio here in Freetown. Now, there are concerns over the ever-growing informal settlements in Freetown, the largest and probably oldest being Kube. It is a densely populated slum where survival has to be negotiated daily and home of an estimated 13,000 people according to available humanitarian and urban housing estimates. A spectacle of inequality in an expanding city. As AYV's intern Aisata Suma reports, the struggle for survival amid little is unforgivingly huge.
Kube sits at the edge of Freetown's economic promise, but it is also at the edge of its infrastructure divide. For the thousands of residents in these tightly packed homes, access to basic services has been wishful for generations. Piped water is a pipe dream. The rains address these needs, but the attendant effect of the rainy season is dire. Flooding washes through their shelters. It contaminates their wells and open water points, adding to the WHO estimates of nearly 2 billion people globally who rely on contaminated water sources. In Kube, those global statistics become personal.
That facility will not get them because almost emissions are additive. Yeah, so we say I don't make the people in the camp, but we check what we emissions make that not let the for say, that will not go disgrace. But most will not get better toilet than the toilet there will be they not look for the people there. Because you know say any people then increase. Don't check out gently. The only thing we can go do no more than for empower the nurse the way they send medicine. And we can need back, let them add more to the hospital because for them belly woman. Let no go somebody the belly door at that's the take and go to an coach and they no go tell them. We appeal to government, let government help, now we able develop the hospital, then give medicine to the nurse there. Then empower them.
Poor sanitation means preventable diseases like cholera, diarrhea, and typhoid thrive. Health services are limited. All the clinic here is overwhelmed and under-resourced. For many families, treatment costs remain out of reach. Malnutrition and waterborne illnesses are recurrent. Medical professional warns that delayed treatment often turns into manageable condition into life-threatening emergencies.
Medication they affecting this community in terms of treatment, like we picking the sick in the community. By the time when they rush now for go time, because we get Kube hospital nearby the field. By the time when they rush for go time, they delay posting, they delay the patient till the sick was. They begin to say sign, this, that, for give money for sign, whatsoever. If I do some processes there, we will make the treat that patient. But without that, if money not there, that life that patient they lost that patient the life they breathe. So then all they affect some of their nurses when they didn't have this hospital, they collect money. So by the time when you go to now for them treat immediately, because some treatments are very critical, some secret is very critical. So by the time when you go to for them, they begin to delay you. If you do this, if you do that, before ever they call 117. At times why they collect me back and we answer.
For the daily struggle here at Kube community are impossible to ignore. For thousands of people living in this informal settlement, our access to almost everything remains a major challenge.
Sanitation remains another silent crisis. Most homes lack proper toilet facilities. Open drainage channel run between houses. Waste disposal system, where they exist, are overwhelmed, posing more public health hazard.
Toilet business, we not get no sign us, no access now for toilet business at all not. And anybody so far, but the one and mostly now, the sorry for now for the women so far. One toilet they not deny so, or shut they not deny so. The woman them at times so they want for easy themselves. They leave me some 10% you don't got to begin to cover themselves, or some of them you find out if you work the entire day you can see any old sofa they get rid and they not foreseen any other thing else na toilets they can come out plain tuna and they cover the lapa sutra themselves. See, so then difficulties and any side that thing they naturally what would they eat? Something they what they form now body obviously we call the waste products and that thing the boy don't pull and not find again in order or let una begin the store or una begin the see now they cause all embarrassment to mortal man. I see and at the same times one for toilets and then pass more get for going at the gutter. Go toilet.
In the midst of hardship, resilience has been born. Community members continue to adapt, to rebuild, and to hope. But hope, they say, must be matched with action. At Kube, the question is no longer whether change is needed. It is how soon it will come. Aisat Asuma, AYV News Freetown.
Thank you very much, Aisat Asuma, for that report from Kube. Now, still on the theme of slums, one you don't often hear about is Sopit, which is right in the city center. The drainage system is old. Some say it dates back to the 1960s. In that time, Freetown has changed to what we currently see. Population growth, urban expansion, and unplanned construction have all transformed the flow of water into something far more violent. Residents there say the system now receives runoff, not only from local rainfall, but from wider parts of the western area, including major urban corridors such as Circular Road and State House environs. The result is a channel overwhelmed by an upsurge. What was once engineered to carry water now carries garbage and has become a corridor of flooding. AYV's intern, Bintaba, has been there and she now reports.
Each rainy season arrives with uncertainties, the only certainty being that flooding is imminent. Residents describes it as a risk. Water surges through the community with force. It breaks boundaries, overwhelms makeshift defenses, and enters homes without warning. The World Bank has repeatedly warned that urban flooding in West Africa is being intensified by climate change, rapid urbanization, and weak drainage infrastructure. These forces converge in low-lying settlements such as Sopit.
This we drainage, okay, address as we got out. You see, this gutter don't dey from colonial days. This gutter don't dey for well over 3 to 4, 5 decades now. And this gutter don't broken. This gutter during the time when the colonial people make this gutter, the city not be flooded. Nobody gets enough water when they can on this gutter. But now that TSC don't come work now, they don't come modernize the streets. They don't come. The gutter they flow down here and plenty. From now State House, Central City, they all free streets. All they use this drainage. So now the inflow is too heavy, and the gutter is still shallow. So we find out say if you see most of the gutter outside don't broke. So all the water where they can do from all inside, they all now don't hear they come. And notwithstanding again, they gutter them can be okay, already occupy up the traders them. You all know the dirty they already get all now inside gutter and you don't pan. Everybody tote. All now gutter and you don't get dirty. All the dirty and I don't hear the come. Die dog, toilet, urine, every kind of thing around the camp. So I don't know they go through lots of problems where they bring bad health conditions. They affect we, they affect the picking them, they affect even the old age them. So these are one of the problems where they kill we presently now.
The impact is not only structural, it is also medical. Flood waters carry waste, refuge, and vectors of diseases into living spaces. Health experts warn that such conditions significantly increase the risk of cholera, typhoid, and other waterborne diseases, particularly in densely populated settlements. In Sopit, those risks are amplified by proximity and density.
The window for the body, they disturb with the mosquito. Because any kind of sick, the way they come back, what they cancel, they enter a place here.
Make the bank here so how they put dirty and so the ground is strong. How the ground is strong, so water not going to affect water not going to affect the land. So now it make the emphasize more the good done you have, there will be payment then. From up, the cow dirty, you can put sand and the land, which will survive. And put everything I got in, and God and make you survive now. God and make you survive.
No, but yeah, any season you can get a rough. Yeah, water business. Bad off the season. You know for this year yourself now. Continue just don't start. This zone the water on the box up and mix up with us here. That high water when in the campus. This one they clear a goat. They clear all. They begin to inside the room there now.
Standing here in the Sopit community, every rain season, residents face flooding that threatens their homes, health, and livelihood. In the absence of permanent infrastructure solutions, residents have had to improvise. Some pile sands and debris around their homes to create temporary boundaries. Others reinforce entry points with whatever material they can find. These are fragile defense against a force that cannot control. Urban planners argue that without investment in drainage, rehabilitation, and flood mitigation, communities like Sopit will remain on the front line of climate vulnerability. For now, resilience fills the gap where infrastructure is absent. Binta Jallo, AYV News, Freetown.
Many thanks to Binta Jallo there for that report. Now let's go over to the east end of Freetown, Port Iwaf. Potiwaf community and Susan's Bay community today, like we said, we'll discuss life in the slums. Now joining us in the studio this morning to discuss what we've just seen here and all, we have including the Dotty Must Go campaign project that is currently on, the World City Summit in Singapore, London Climate Week, a newly constructed water kiosk, and public toilet facilities across Freetown communities. We have the Mayor of Freetown, Madam Yvonne Akisoya, here with us in the studio. And also we have Yira Oyanks-Conte. He's the National Chairman, Slum Dwellers Association. Madam Mayor, good morning.
Morning. Morning, viewers. Morning, Fabian. Morning, Bakari.
Yes.
And morning, Ira.
I'm sure you've seen the reports so far that we have this morning.
Yeah.
We still have two others from the east end of Freetown. And we've spoken about this before. The issue you've raised about population growth and how dense Freetown City is, keeps popping up in these reports.
Yeah.
What's your assessment so far of both reports you've seen?
Well, I think this is a classic case. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. What we're seeing is failure of planning. You've said it already. There's been a population explosion. And for residents or for viewers to understand, let's look at the actual numbers. The census of 2015 had the population of Freetown at 1,055,964. According to the World Bank's Freetown Urban Sector Review, published in December 2018, it is expected that that population would have grown to 2 million by 2028. That's a doubling of the population of a city in 13 years. It normally takes 50 to 100 years to see that level of growth, that speed of growth. So what we're experiencing in Freetown is exponential population growth. Now that in and of itself has its own implications and its own causes, from lack of facilities outside of the city, failure of decentralization, and failure obviously as well of subsistence agriculture, which is climate change affected. So we've seen this massive influx of people, and you don't need me to tell you, you don't need a report to tell you, just go walk at Lumley. Lumley has moved from a quiet residential area to a bustling, overcrowded conurbation, and it's not just the main streets. Go behind. I was in Kamayama on Saturday, you saw, with Jack Kingdom. You go to Poti, you've seen the videos. But let's just paint that picture first and foremost of a small area. Remember, Freetown is less than 1% of the physical size of the entire country. It's 82 square kilometers, this city that we call Freetown, in a country of 70,000 square kilometers, 74,000 square kilometers. So less than 1% of the size. And yet, our population in the city now represents almost over 20%, depending on what population numbers are using, over 20% of the population. So that gives you a picture. Again, population growth by itself isn't a problem. It will have its challenges, but they can be managed. But what's made it so difficult, what has resulted in this growth of informal settlements? And I love it that Ira is here, because Ira and I first met in 2017. And when we met, he was then still president of the Slum Dwellers, Informal Settlement Dwellers Association. But he can tell you firsthand, as can I, because I've worked with them closely over these last 8 to 9 years, that the informal settlements have exploded. Why is that? Because of the lack of planning. So we have the growth in the population, but you're coming into a city where there is no planned land use, where there isn't a master plan that says you can have residences here, There's a road going up to Mount Oriole, for example, which is then, you then have plots. It can be private land, it can be state land, but there must be some level of planning. Consequently, people have come and they have basically said, I will just reside here. Nobody needs permits because the building permit regime, unfortunately, isn't effective. So that has meant that the informal settlements have sucked up all of these people. But it's not limited to the informal settlements. What you will notice as well is a growth of informality in areas that were once formal. So think about Spur Road. Think about Spur Loop. Spur Loop was a residential diplomatic conclave. But if you go to Spur Loop now, you see the informal structures everywhere. Why is that happening? Because we don't have a process, an effective process that ensures that before you build, you have a permit.
Mayor,
now,
as
the
you
mandate,
speak, it sounds like a very hopeless situation for Freetown. Is it a hopeless situation?
There are challenges that are being addressed, but we need those, that we need to recognize first and accept that if we don't do something about the lack of planning and the imposition or the execution of a building permit regime, it will continue.
Let me ask you that because, take for example, Nigeria.
Yeah.
Lagos was the capital city. Problems like these with
Abounded.
many others, they couldn't continue keeping Lagos as capital. They had to go to Abuja and correct all the wrongs from Lagos. Now Abuja is their capital. Is Freetown a hopeless situation?
So that's a good comparison because Lagos is not a hopeless situation. With all the challenges that Lagos had, that decision was part of a very structured sort of plan that not only created Abuja as the new capital, administrative capital, but also led to planning and investment in Lagos as the financial capital. So you will see that over the last, anybody who's been following Lagos, and I was with the governor just a couple of days ago, over the last 15 years, Lagos has been very determined to introduce planning, to ensure that planning is properly executed, and thereby ensure that those coming into Lagos, you know, and construction in Lagos is ordered and makes Lagos able to get the benefit of its large population. Having a large population is not a bad thing. But when you have a large population that is unstructured, when you have the informality...
once said Freetown should be changed. It should no longer be the capital. We should relocate to Lungi. You've been the sitting mayor of Freetown for about 8 years.
I'm not against that. I'm not against having an administrative capital elsewhere. Not at all.
But even
we
if there
need
becomes,
to push the people.
Even if
we need to give people an option to go elsewhere.
But even if the country gets to a point of getting an administrative capital like Nigeria did,
and
we still cannot erase Freetown from Sierra Leone.
You would never.
What is the solution to Freetown's current problem?
Planning.
How do we plan? What form of planning?
So I've mentioned already, and you know, yesterday, in fact, this morning I sent you a video from Accra of the flooding, and I also sent the speech that their president Mahama gave. And one of the things that he said was specifically about planning. He said, when we tell people not to build in waterways, we are told that we are bad. And he made reference to that because he understands the importance of ensuring that you plan to protect your environment and to protect your people. What is this current situation with planning in Sierra Leone? Not in Freetown, but in Sierra Leone. The current situation is that planning sits with the Ministry of Lands for the entire country. And consequently, I mean, it's a huge portfolio. It's every other country. And 2 weeks ago, I had the privilege of being with the executive director of UN Habitat. UN Habitat being the UN agency responsible globally for the engagement of the UN with city development. I asked her, do you know any other country in the world, you in your professional capacity, where land use planning and issuance of building permits is not a function of the local government, it is a function of the central government? And her answer was no.
Will that solve the problem here in Freetown? If the land use planning is given to councils across the country to manage?
What will solve the problem is for the land use planning to be done. Now, best practice, international best norms globally, is that this is a local function. Just the same way that, you know, in many countries, I'm talking again, almost universally, sanitation is a local function. Why? Because there is a relationship between the delivering of services and the planning of the environment. Mm-hmm. We started off, I think, in one of the commentaries, there was mention of the fact that you have communities which are not accessible. If you can't get to it, you can't deliver services. So this kind of...
So if the Freetown City Council is giving that mandate, can we have access to those communities?
Let me give you an example.
We have the
of
town
Krube.
and country planning law in place, right?
No, we don't.
So what's the issue with that law?
That law, the Town and Country Planning Act, has recently been updated. And in that update, it does say on paper, now, this is just done last year, that the local councils across the board should be responsible for planning. However, this law is not being implemented yet because the Ministry of Land says that they need to write regulations about how it will be done. What I believe is the hope, because you asked, is there hope? What I believe is the hope is for us to get to a place as a country where we realize that in order for something to be done effectively, something like planning, it needs to be done at the level closest to the people, which is the local council. In the case of Freetown, huge amounts of money have already been spent.
Yeah,
in
FCC
investing
spends
in
12 billion
structure.
on sanitation, in fact, every
Well,
year.
that's what we're doing to try and clean up sanitation. But on planning, we have actually already, in 2014, there was a structure plan done. Sadly, that also wasn't implemented. But in the last 3 years, and WIRA has been part of that process, we have worked with the World Bank to update that structure plan. So there's actually a plan now which we could implement. We are doing local area plans, smaller plans, in places like the Central Business District, in Krube, but none of that can be implemented until the power is given. So what I wanted to bring across to you in answer to your question is that Freetown City Council, we're not a magic bullet. We're not a silver bullet. We're not going to go from chaos to totally organized city overnight because the power moves. What will happen when the power moves is that we have a structure in place. We have an urban planning department. I have gone out and I have sourced resources, personnel, to be able to bring in that planning execution. I was in Singapore 2 weeks ago, you mentioned that. Singapore is unique. Singapore is a city-state. But do you know what the population of Singapore is? It's 6 million people. Single city, single state. 6 million people. They are also very dense because that 6 million people are sitting on only 700 square kilometers. But do you know what the difference is? Planning. Every inch of ground is planned. And that includes protecting our green spaces. If you go to February College, I went to February College, I drove through the other day. February College looks like it's a logging center. The trees, all those trees that we used to have behind Lati Hyde, in between Beethoven and February College Primary School, they are being cut down as if it's a timber area. And all of that happens
this begs the question.
because there's no
I know
planning.
we've talked about this before. Can it be done with planning alone when we have an attitude and behavioral problem? I'm asking this because when you compare us to countries like Singapore, they are disciplined. You just mentioned Accra, for example. The typical problem will be when government says, no bilia, people will go on and build. When you say don't climb up the hills, don't cut trees, people will do it. When you say don't throw your garbage in the street, people are still doing it, even with the Dirty Must Go campaign. So at the end of the day, if the planning aspect is decentralized, would it be enough when the attitudes of citizens is always going to be the same?
So if we as Freetonians, if we as Sierra Leoneans decide that this is our lot, then it will be the same. But that's a decision that we don't have to take. Singapore, the journey of Singapore's development started at the same time as ours. Again, let me give you another example, Malaysia. And I won't name the country, but the current Minister for Development in Malaysia was previously the mayor of Kuala Lumpur, and she's a friend. She had a conversation, she became the ED of UN Habitat at one point, the previous one. She had a conversation with an African leader. I will not name the country, I will not name the leader. And he said to her, there was a time when my country gave a bilateral loan to you, to your country, Malaysia, just in those early days of independence. Today, look at where Malaysia is and look at where my country is. Why was what he asked her. She told me this just a couple of weeks ago. She said, my answer was leadership. It is not just about changing the laws, as you rightly say. It takes leadership to ensure that laws are enforced. It takes leadership for there to be law and order, leadership that is concerned about outcomes. You talked about the garbage and people's attitude. What are we doing there? On 2 weeks ago, was it 2 weeks ago? Yeah. 2 weeks ago, we had two funerals as an All People's Congress Party. And I had cause to go to Lunge, use the ferry twice. It was a great moment of observation because here I was in this confined space with my compatriots, Sierra Leoneans and Freetonians predominantly, but Sierra Leoneans generally. Confined space with a dustbin. By the time we left Tar Green, I'm not talking about even getting into, not Tar Green, ferry terminal. I'm not talking about even getting halfway into the water. The entire place was filthy. I was going up to people and saying, "Bo, dustbin dey yanda. Hey, then go sweep here. Then get for sweep here."
Isn't that what is done to the Freetown City Council every day?
Every day. So I said to people, wait till una do na ya. Na this una do every day.
So why we want to sort out the planning aspect
You've
and
got
the
to sort it out.
decentralization?
You cannot
Can't
say
we
it's
tackle
either
what
or.
we handle now, which is the attitude? We had Hallowell here the other day, the deputy disaster manager, I think at
Gabriel.
FCC. Yes, and he spoke that, for example, at Poti, if you clean the garbage today, by tomorrow evening.
No, by that evening.
By that evening, you have the same amount of garbage.
And
there
who's doing
again.
it? Who's doing it? Is it Freetown City Council? It is the people.
Has Freetown City Council done enough in terms of sensitization on behavioral change and attitude? Because at the end of the day, Mayor, even if you say not to a dirty na ya, you come back tomorrow, you dey meet dirty day. So it's not an issue.
So what we've decided to do, because we've used the carrot for a long time, in terms of sort of positive messages, incentives, showing people that if we're spending 12 billion leones cleaning up after you every day, sweeping the streets, cleaning the markets, which are also treated in the same way. If we're spending that money, that's money that could have gone to build community centers, to bring more water access and so forth. It hasn't helped, it hasn't changed. But we didn't have the laws in place to enable us to do effective enforcement. That has now changed. We now have the new bylaws, and as you may have heard in the press, we've now also signed an MOU with the Sierra Leone Police in order for us to have assistance, because with 2 million people and 120 Met Police, we certainly can't enforce on our own. But with enforcement, it just needs some good examples. So starting next week, we're moving into the streets. We're moving into the streets, and I'm going to come back to something that Fabian said once when I was here, because I've just remembered when you smiled just now. I need to remind you of that. We're moving door to door, and we will be asking people to make sure that they've registered with the service provider in order for the garbage to be collected from their homes. We are also thinking about, we're not firm on it yet, about taking some action which will enforce not only that element of the bylaw, but there's another element of the bylaw which has been around for a long time, but it hasn't been enforced. And that is everybody is responsible for cleaning your frontage. That is in the law. And the fine for not being registered is 5 million leones or 6 months jail. And that is also the same fine for not cleaning your frontage. Now,
and that's for both businesses and private residents?
Businesses, private institutions. Institutions, that includes government institutions. In the same way government institutions must pay their property rates, they are in the city, although they have a backlog of about 2 years at the moment, and that affects our ability to deliver services. In as much as government institutions must pay property rate, they must also register for waste provision.
In as much as it comes across, or it seems, that Freetonians or Sierra Leoneans tend to be lawless, there have been instances in the past where they've proven to be very law-abiding. But however, it's the inconsistency of law enforcement that sort of just sweeps people right back to the same old bad attitude. Some time ago, there was the Operation Free Flow.
That was before my time.
Yes, obviously it was before your time in office. There was Operation Free Flow. People were chased to not urinate in the streets, to not throw garbage. It got to a point, people were so accustomed to it, they were doing citizens policing to one another. People would forget and someone from the crowd would just give them a reminder. The place looked decent. Suddenly, there was inconsistency in the enforcement because people were fined. They stopped and people went back to the same attitude. Inconsistency is a problem. With these new bylaws, how much longer can you keep up the enforcement of these bylaws and the new solutions you're bringing into the problems?
Okay, so the solutions have to be sustainable. But I want to just quickly remind you that that Operation Free Flow, which happened, I would guess, 2016, it was before my time.
It was probably even before that.
Even before that. So you're talking about 2016 was 10 years ago. And at that point, we had a population of less than 1 million people. I really need us in everything we do to understand the implications of the level of population growth the city has seen and what that means in terms of the resource of council, in terms of Met Police enforcement, and even sadly, in terms of a sense of belonging to the city. There are people, you know, there's a big difference when you feel like this is your home, you're not Freetonian, and when you just come and you don't feel like this is your home yet. You know, there is a, I mean, you're not Freetonian. Now, my broker guy, and Togolili man, but not Freetonian. But there is a difference when people have that sort of sense of pride. The enforcement which is going to happen, there will be a period of time when it will be a surge, but that costs resources. We cannot have the Sierra Leone police working step by step with us, you know, sort of indefinitely. They have agreed to give us 2 weeks per block. There are 8 blocks, so 16 weeks of their devoted time. That's what the MOU says. Beyond that, we, Freetown City Council, will need to continue with enforcement. But we are hopeful that 16 weeks is 4 months. That in that period of time, with the fines that will be levied, with the people that will be taken to court, that there will be an appreciation that there is a need for us to change our behavior. This is going alongside media. I mean, yesterday I sat with AfriCell. We're sitting with Orange. We've sat with QCell. You know, they'll be doing media blasts on SMS. We're doing, as I'm speaking to you, my chief administrator is on 98.1. We will continue. We're putting billboards up. We will continue. LXG has sung Dotty Must Go. The music video will come out this week. We are continuing to push the message. But let's also be clear. Civic responsibility is all of our responsibility. We can run behind, it's like a mom at home. It gets to a point, she can tidy up after her kids, but the kids also need to make their beds. They need to put their things away. They need to not drop their litter on the living room floor. We all have a role to play. Freetonians, we need to actually change our behavior. We will enforce. Today, tomorrow, there's a public notice going out that is going to name a number of people who have refused to pay their property rates and who we have taken to court. We're going to name them so that other people know that it's not an option. We cannot have a functioning city if all of us refuse to play our part in making Freetown a functioning city.
Let's bring you in on the conversation. We've spoken about leadership as well. You are the president of Slum Dwellers Association. With slum dwellers, there are two thoughts on this, the approach. There are people who believe what you should do is remove those people from the slums, relocate them to somewhere else, and ensure that those slum areas do not have people living there as residential areas. But there's another opinion, those who think, don't remove the people out of the slum, remove the slum from the people. Where do you stand on this? What do you think is the way out?
Thank you very much, Tipian. I think you start with leadership. As for me, I believe there's a serious problem in the leadership. I've been in this process for over 20 years now, and I've traveled worldwide and see exactly what is happening. You know, when you don't devolve functions to people who deserve that particular work to do, then it's very, very difficult for you to operate. Let's take an example. I will take you to Regent's Hill Station. You see, they've tarred the road, they've put, balusters and so on and so forth. Within the twinkle of an eye, they've dug all those places. They say they want to pass pipe and whatever. Now go and look. You've seen it's not as if it's a road that they've made very decent. Leadership. The reason I'm saying this is because I'm the chairman for Slum Dwellers Association. I was also on a panel yesterday morning with the Ghana. Why flooding and whatever, because we are working in partnership and also in Nigeria. But the problem we are having is that people who are supporting them to do what they want to do. I'm saying this because 3 years ago, when I stand at no extension of banking, you know, witness that. And I signed an MOU with most of those informal settlements. And then they agreed. And then somebody was doing it in Olosho. And I woke up 4 o'clock in the morning. And I went there. I scattered all the banking. You know what happened? Somebody called me from the higher authority. Do you think that place is yours? If you do it again, and then you get me right. As a father of 2, and I have a lot of siblings behind me, I have to be careful to make sure I take care of my family. I'm the eldest of my family. So listen to that kind of statements. I will just give a word to them that if you do this, this is what will happen. But I don't have the chance to enforce those laws in those communities because the power is limited in me.
Yeah, but I'll still take you back to what I asked you earlier. Where do you stand? Remove the people from the slum or remove the slum from the people? What do you think is the solution?
Life have options. Everybody have what you want and what you want to do. Make sure the person gets a clear picture of what you think you are telling them and see the reality of what you want to say. You can't say, take the slum from the people and not the people from the slum. It's good. Are we ready to do that? That's the first option.
But what do you, as the leader, think is the safest?
Relocate where possible and develop where necessary. That's my option. Relocate where necessary and develop option. Where there's a disaster-prone area, we have to relocate those people. But mind you, you have to think of the UN Convention Act, which says if you want to take me from this place to that place, you should have already prepared. Mother can't say, go to bed, and then the bed is not prepared. The bed has to be prepared before you take the children to bed. You can't just go there and then you are starting nodding and then you start preparing bed. No. You have to prepare the bed first before you take them to bed.
Do you think politicians have neglected slum areas?
You know, well, I don't want to broad the word that all politicians, because some have conscience. Some, when they're in power, they will say and they will do. As for me, I can hold tight with the mayor because I stand with her on that particular day. I was not even looking at her. I was so hot when politicians always come to us and say something. But she said, I'm different. And she's different because she's a woman. And since the day she won, I can't say I'm the first person, but within 2 minutes after they called the results, my phone rang. And then my wife said, Mayor is calling you. And then he said, we are going to start. And up till now, we are doing it. May 16 to May 23, we took bulldozer to Kobe. If you go there now, it seems as if there was no bulldozer in Kobe. 16 to 23. We also have a flood program on December, January, February. We walk across the city, billboards and everything, signposts. We do this. Fed Up and Kodusapa. We move around the city. But if you go around the city now, there are other people. Before coming this morning, I went to Shell to go and leave medication for my mother. You can see people are moving from their houses with bags of garbage, leaving them at the walkway of the city. Then I asked the guy, oh, boy, are you safe? You don't pay no to really dirty. The guy they asked me if I'm a business.
And this brings me to the question. People who are not part of residential areas within these slum settlements say they blame slum dwellers for their condition. You've just spoken about how bulldozers were used to clear Krube, but if you go there now, it's as if nothing has been done even in the last weeks. You know, some people argue that residents themselves contribute to the flooding in those areas, and that the plastic, you just saw from the interview there, a guy claiming that they are now even using the garbage to serve as a blocking fence from the water coming in. Isn't that concerning that garbage that should be cleared is now being used as a banking point for the river?
Sometimes when you have stress, you can adopt to that particular stress and look for solutions how you can navigate that stress, because you're already in stress. There's nothing can happen that will take you out of that stress. So you are looking at how to navigate that particular stress for you to sustain on it. You understand? We are not creating garbage. We are not. You are up 3-story building and right down at the first floor or the ground floor. Everything you eat up, water you drink and everything, and then you throw it down. I'm receiving the problem, but I am not the cause of the problem. We are receiving the garbage. You know, when rain comes, just go and stand at PWD. I went to Guma to go and pay my office bill, water rate bill. I stand there, I said, Guma building is here, PWD is here, very close to various ministers. And look at the drainage. A lot of garbage. Nobody's saying it. I think the problem is we're emphasizing the problem, but not to come up with solutions on how to solve the problem. This is a real problem. How can we solve this? If we really intend to solve the garbage problem in Sierra Leone, let me take you for example. Somebody asks you, if you're not here, what you go do? I say, me, I go do like NPIC. And they begin old people from Lumley. Just call black man and load them. If you want those guys, they loading them to cargo left you. By the time you can't forget the other people, you don't need to clean table first. The reality aspect of Sierra Leone is if you don't see the practical aspect of it, then they won't follow. And if you intend to do the practical follows, I'm a civilian. But if you intend to say, but everybody don't vote tobacco, a little minimize the loss of Republican. That's how some people do. You understand? That's how they did. Some people will say, now within the power, if you touch them, then somebody will call at the higher authority and ask, who are you?
But on the flip side, Yura, when disasters happen and people in slum communities are affected, it's actually they and their loved ones who either lose property, lose their loved ones, not actually the bad politicians who tend to not do anything about it. What message do you share with slum dwellers during sensitization periods?
We've started this in November. We are not waiting for any politician anymore, except to work with the Federal City Council to give us support financially, and sometimes they drag us to donor where we can have fun to see how we can do what we are doing. But in the case that, when you talk of Community Disaster Management Committee, we started it in Sierra Leone. We started it in Freetown. Now you have the NDME. But we are not considered to be part and parcel of this because it's already been sidelined for those who think they know. I've been in 20 years. I have experience on how to do it. We've started doing community action plan before any other institutions in this country. But we use that particular one to give community. There are no flooding within our communities. But what we are saying is that if the politicians are using it as business, or you are using it to make money when it comes to rain. You cannot fatten the pig on the market day. You can't tell me to clean my area when it's June, July. You have to start that particular one during the dry season. Train me on the dry season, give me tools to clean, do everything, sensitization. You know, work on it. And when it comes on that particular rainy season, you see the practical aspect of what I've learned on that particular time. It's not when you have exam, that's the time you're going to study very, very hard. It means you're staying yourself. You have to make sure you, during the time for lecture, you listen, put in practice, continue to read, and then for the exam, it's very easy for you to pass because you do everything. But for us, it's only when the problems occur. Now you are not seeing them move to community, they think they are disaster prone area. If there is disaster now, you will see them. Before they go and prevent, they will go and start to register. That's the most important thing. Whether it's fire, whether it's disaster, whether it's anything, they will start to do the registration, not how the people feel or how to solve the problem. But to get this, when I can't register, we don't get the problem. We want to be proactive. Let's make sure we solve the problem before it's happening. Let's mitigate it before we think the problem. But I'm saying that people are making money out of it, so they want it to happen.
And the problem itself, Mayor, let's take this back to you. You mentioned that the slum dwellers are not the ones who create the garbage problem. They're just receivers of the problem that comes from top of the hill and other places. And that in itself, entrepreneurs would tell you every problem is a business opportunity. There is that problem of garbage, and there is also business opportunity in solving garbage problem. With Dotty Must Go, how is it going to be enrolled to solve this problem?
I want to just go back to something that Ira said, and also to your question about where does he stand? And his answer is our answer. Upgrade where necessary, relocate where possible. So that is to explain that there are times when relocation is a must because people are in an area where their own lives are at risk. But then you also need to give options. So on the options, very quickly, I just want to say that what we've been working on is informal settlement upgrades. So for example, in the very crew bay that you're showing, you know, a primary school has been built. Drainage is being put in. Public toilets, we've just done a water kiosk in Susan's Bay. We've done public toilets, we've done drainage, we've done solar, not solar lights. We've done lights which are powered by a biodigester. In Poti, we're going to be putting in road, bridges, steps, drainage, 75 street lights. So you're trying to improve, but that's not really enough. Another thing that we've done in Krube, and you know, you're as aware of this, we've recently been working on a research project because in all of this, you also need data. We've been looking at the impact of flooding. So we've had flood monitors working with London School of Economics. We've had flood monitors in a number of communities, including Krube. And we've asked people to see whether there's a willingness for them to relocate if they have the financial wherewithal to get another place. Because you've also got to realize that these are people's lives. And for many people, being in the city center means they're close to employment. So when you're, like he says with the Human Rights Convention, when you say relocate, you're not going to go send someone to some remote area with no school, no market, no work opportunities. You must have a holistic approach. And for that, you need a mandate. So it comes back to his point. The call he had with respect to the garbage or the banking that was going on, what you need to understand when you talk about the economics is that there's an economy around the banking. That banking is being done by, as he said, higher ups, people with influence are the ones who are giving the green light for garbage. The waste that we're talking about, it is being used to bank. So there's actually a commercial. We've seen situations, people are buying it. Yeah. You go to slum communities along the coast and people are paying money for garbage to come to them, to put it in the water and create land. So we also need to understand that. So when we talk about whenever there is a problem, there is an economic opportunity. That opportunity can be for the good or for the bad. Now, for the good. What is FCC doing? You would have heard me say, and if you haven't, let me say it again, that we are in the process of getting a recycling plant for plastic at King Tom. It is on the seas. We expect it to be in country on Saturday, if there isn't another delay, because sadly with all of this, you know, Strait of Hormuz business, all the shipping seems to be just all over the place. But we are expecting it. No matter how delayed it is, it will come. That plastic, we had an example at Crew Bay. In the period that Ira just mentioned, when we took the bulldozer there to clear the Samba gutter, I told them before the bulldozer comes, you can see the plastic has floated to the top. I called the company who's doing the recycling because they're beginning to collect the plastic even before the machine arrives. And we agreed that they would pay 70 leones per bag. The minute I said that, the young people jumped into Sambakota. I have a video, I'll share it with you, Phoebe. Within 3 hours, we had 60 of those jumbo bags. And they were paid.
Is that a sustainable solution?
Well, the sustainable solution is the plastic recycling. Obviously, that's not the supply chain that we'll be using, just going to communities and saying, when I go collect that one day. No, no, no. We will design a supply chain which involves our service providers who are going house to house. So that supply chain of plastic to the recycling is part of it. The second part, because our waste is both organic and inorganic. Inorganic is predominantly plastic. But organic, our food waste, also needs to be dealt with and treated because that's a major source of pollution. That's what really sort of gives the methane. When you see that smoke going up, it's really organic waste over time that you know is releasing that. So what are we doing there? Two things in two different ways but related. First, we're doing in situ solutions. So if you go to Hagan Street Market right now, you'll see an example of that. We've already installed the biodigester, which is going to be fed by the waste from the market. We had done this before in 2023, but the technology we used was too sophisticated, and in the end, it didn't survive. You know, it was just too sensitive. So we've used a more appropriate technology for our own context. That first one came from Holland. The volume of the noise itself strips the machine. Can you imagine noise the chip machine in Hagan Street Market? Of course, it was stripping all day long. And then the rats would be eating the pipes. So we've gone to something which is far, far simpler, locally designed, and we will have that running in the next few weeks. So that will take organic waste from the market. Now that's in situ solution we have in a few markets. We have it at Hagan Street. We're going to have it at Congo Market. We're going to have it at Krutaru Market. What we're also going to do, though, is we are now building, we've got funding to build a compost facility. You know that at King Tom, we're already doing the fecal sludge, the human waste. Now we will use organic waste as a biodigester also to produce just local energy, just for the local consumption in that area. So when it comes to what are we doing in terms of trying to ensure that we absorb, we recycle the waste that is being produced in the city, those are two major interventions that are underway. But we continue to say what we need every Freetonian to do. Household. We have standard bins. We have standard rice bags from 15 kg, which is like a half, 25 kg rather, like a half rice bag, branded with FCC logo. You can get it from your supplier. You have the 50 kg. The prices are very reasonable.
You've put out a list of
service providers.
Yes, of businesses that are responsible to collect the waste, obviously on monetary value. But what about those other businesses who offer the same services but are not registered under the FCC?
So we
do have them.
So we had the opportunity, you know, something that's been said by everybody, by each one of us, over the period of this conversation, is the need for us to abide by the law.
Yeah.
You know, this is something, and this is why I said I was going to come back to you, because I remember once you telling me, oh, the clean salon guys will be put out of business. Fabian, if we don't have structures, If we don't have systems, we will have chaos.
Yeah.
And the clean salon guys, all they do is feed a habit. 99% of them are sadly kush users. Yeah. I drive around the city and I see their havoc. So what we need to do is to make sure they have treatment, but they are not our sanitation solution. Because if they take the garbage from your house and then they just go leave it on the street, that is not a solution.
Is it a policy or a law for people to comply with,
it's
the list of service providers
it is a
you
law.
put?
It is a law. Because this is the law says you must use an FCC approved service provider. You must use FCC. Those people are working.
And if you don't?
If you don't, you'll be fined. Those people are working on behalf of FCC. Before those people were identified, we went to the market. We engaged all the service providers in the city. We had consultation. We said we need a system. We need service level agreements. When you say I'm a service provider and you collect the garbage, we don't know where you take it. There are trucks which go and offload their garbage in Aberdeen Creek. You need to have regulations, and for that you need to have structures. And structures mean you need to identify all the people in the sector. Sanitation is the responsibility, the legal responsibility of Freetown City Council and all the city councils around the country. We have brought in the private sector because financially we haven't got the capacity to be able to, have the trucks. Even in other countries, they outsource and bring the private sector in. But you do it in collaboration with us because the responsibility is ours. The mandate is ours. So the rules are ours. Yesterday we sat down with all of us, the service providers. We had a meeting. I can send you photos of that meeting. We had on the screen up their performance targets. Everybody is using Smart Cities app, except for Block 6, which uses the Dotting Box app. That Smart Cities app, we have the back end of it. We see your collections. We see who you've registered. We see if you've missed a pickup. Because when the payment is done, it goes through, the payment is done digitally, by the way. It's star 713 star 241 hash or something like that. But it's all in all the documents that you receive. Or if you are on an Android phone.
Is it going to FCC or going straight to the service
provider? It goes
provider?
to an escrow account, which is overseen by FCC. We've agreed with the bank. This amount goes to the service provider. This amount comes to FCC to manage the system and cover the overheads. So that way we see how many customers you are getting, and we are tracking you. We also are monitoring what you're doing in terms of your delivery at the dump sites. And we are bringing in better controls at the dump sites. Of course, we wanted a landfill, but the story there. Unfortunately, that funding was lost again because there isn't that collaboration at all times. We are so pleased with the level of collaboration we have with the Ministry of Internal Affairs, with the Sierra Leone Police, with the fact that this MOU has been signed, that 2 weeks ago we did a joint press conference, at the Miata event, the weekly press conference, press briefing, and there is that determination with Honorable Minister Mori Lengo and with the IG to ensure that they work alongside us to enforce these laws.
We'll come right back to the conversation in the studio, but still on the theme on slums. We move to Porty Wharf in one of Freetown's most densely populated coastal settlements. Residents of Porty Wharf are confronting a quiet but persistent public health emergency. Overcrowded housing, limited access to clean water, and inadequate sanitation facilities are shaping everyday survival, particularly for children. It is a phenomenon that is common in many slum areas in Freetown, as other reporters have highlighted here on AYV in the last couple of days. Now, as climate pressures intensify across West Africa, low-lying communities like this are increasingly exposed to flooding and disease outbreaks. AYV's camera operator Aliu Bangura documented the conditions on the ground as Issa Bangura reports them in this piece.
Narrow pathways cut between tightly packed structures, many built on stilts above brackish water. The settlement feels suspended between resilience and risks, where every inch of space has been claimed by necessity rather than planning. Drainage channels are often blocked or absent entirely, turning rainfall into stagnant pools that linger like unwelcome guests. Residents describe water access as a daily calculation between cost and survival. With limited public taps, many households rely on private vendors, making clean water both scarce and expensive in a city where informal urban settlements continue to expand faster than infrastructure investment. Across sub-Saharan Africa, rapid urbanization is outpacing wash services, leaving millions dependent on unsafe or costly alternatives.
I don't think about 20-something years now. The health side, we got some of the border that will be sick in this community, pass then take them another community because we're not able to get proper medication at this and the water for drink we see no more because first then they open pump them for we. Now pass with the buy is grafting water, we use them for drink. The toilet then pass through anger because there I do make some till the toilet will be anger. So when the water they come and flush everything away. During the past regime, we done they talk about that. And then they can all meeting between the community that they promise we see them we can make proper facility for toilet business, but still it never happen.
We say now this community now we can manage or make toilets now, so now this time I can be a master because of not for we gain within now, so for the people inside now they pass. So some man can beg you say if you not get to then go beg and asking for business then sick in the that cold with pain, we all the time we get a malaria, cold, pain, all the time because you have the place in cold. They get them pollen and this community, so I decide who can do so.
Medical business, no problem because the hospital na cancel. All picking and sick, now they carry them when they treat them, and then they help one thing. Or they pay not so free, or they pay.
Sanitation is another major challenge. Inadequate toilet facilities serve a population estimated at over 14,000 people, forcing some residents to use unsafe alternatives. During heavy rains, flood waters spread waste through homes and footpaths, increasing the risks of cholera, typhoid, and other waterborne diseases. Healthcare provision in Potiwaf is stretched thin. A single health center serves a population that far exceeds its capacity, with staff describing shortages of essential medicines, limited space, and overwhelming patient numbers.
We can attend 50 people for the day, then weekly up to 200 to 300 for the week. The essential care we can give, first of all, the belly woman them, we can do ANC. They treat belly woman them. Then the sick the way they get, where we not go able from treat them, we can refer and then refer center like hypertension, eclampsia, we can refer them. We can start, but they refer to the refer center. Then for the picky then under 5s, then safe we get the disease and where we they treat naya where the one day we not able to refer na the refer centers. Then the general ward when like malaria case we safe we can admit them, we treat them. The lab test we can do lab test for them because we get lab departments who can do the test. Here we get water, then the electrical system, yes, because they will not be yet, but now it better. They will get solar safe. Then the medical side now, the supply only they get insufficient compared to the patient where they come. The supply look scanty, then the patients them. Okay.
Education too bears the imprint of environmental stress. Classrooms are overcrowded, learning materials are limited, and flooding frequently interrupts the academic calendar. For many children, the classroom competes with the tide itself, an unstable foundation for learning in a community already grappling with structural inequality.
Well,
we get challenges then, especially this time where they say rainy season. One, the place they leak, and sometimes we can get that high water where they call kika inside, but we get with it care for lock. If it will be locked, now the same things cause that problem yanda called bus some areas in our but still we don't try to but till now the challenge that they still dey go on. The zinc back, we don't put the zinc first, but the breeze can take out everything, but we no be no say na other thing they come forward. But
life at Potiwaf in Eastern Freetown is built on resilience and a strong sense of community, but it is also marked by serious infrastructural challenges. Residents contend with overcrowded living conditions, limited access to clean water and electricity, inadequate sanitation, and the constant threat of flooding and fire. This densely populated informal settlement is characterized by homes constructed side by side, many of them built over the water or on reclaimed drainage channels. Behind me is a stark reminder of the sanitation crisis facing this community. A makeshift toilet built on wooden stilts over the sea, where human waste is discharged directly into the water. Yet, despite these difficult conditions, the people of Potiwaf continue to support one another, demonstrating remarkable resilience and a shared commitment to their community. As cities like Freetown expand, Potiwaf stands as a reminder that urban growth without infrastructure is a form of slow crisis. Across the world, UN Habitat estimates that over 1.1 billion people now live in informal settlement, a number projected to rise without targeted investment in urban resilience. Here in this coastal enclave, the challenge is not only development, but dignity. Addressing communities like Potiwaf will require more than short-term interventions. It will demand sustained investment in water systems, sanitation networks, healthcare access, and climate-resilient urban planning. Without it, the rising tide will continue to expose the fault lines beneath the city's surface. Issa Bangura, AYV News, Freetown.
Welcome back. Thank you very much, Issa, for that report. Let's quickly take the messages we have so far, and then we'll allow the mayor and Yira to say their comments on the video and, of course, the messages. Over on Facebook, Mohammed is asking, Madam Mayor, are those service providers enough to cover the eastern population in Freetown? And Mosdi is saying, why is it becoming increasingly difficult for the relevant authorities to effectively manage the growing garbage problem across the country, particularly in the capital city, Freetown? And Nyaka is asking, Madam Mayor, what happened with the affordable housing project, which is the idea of transforming the slum communities? CRS invested money into this project. Has it been nipped under the bud? And also for Yira, there was a community learning platform set up by your institution, Federation of Urban and Rural Poor, to educate people on behavioral change. Why is it not working? And lastly, for the mayor, from the question here, Barnes Kombalebe is asking, Her Worship, you are currently, there's a process currently ongoing whereby the FCC is collaborating with land sector CSOs, Land for Life, and the Land for Life interest in land policy reform. The question is, how do you connect land governance and the sanitation challenge we currently have in the city? Those are the questions so far.
Okay, shall I start?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Let's start with, are the service providers enough? The service providers bid for blocks, and their capacity is meant to match the size of the blocks. As we move forward, this is a learning process. It's a, we are trying to introduce processes and systems. And we, in the meeting yesterday with the service providers, reminded them that we've set targets which we'll review by the end of December. If there are changes required, those changes will be made. But let's start first with my dear texter. Please make sure you register with your service provider. Moving on to affordable housing. So one of the things that we've sort of touched on repeatedly is the fragmentation of mandates. The fact that in many cities across the world, including across in the African region, mandates for many things, including housing, sits with local councils. One of my biggest surprises when I came into office was to find out that what one expected to be mandates were in fact not mandates. Housing is not a council mandate in Sierra Leone. We have a whole organization called SALHOC who have the mandate for housing. That said, what we are still working on is informal settlement upgrades. And even and you said CRS had invested money. I think what we did was we spent a little bit of funds looking at potential housing structures. You know, sort of, we engaged communities to say, because this experience was seen in Ethiopia, where they introduced housing, multi-story apartment housing to replace the housing in a previous informal settlement. And then they realized that they hadn't consulted the residents. So what you had was somebody who was accustomed to having her home also be her business place. Maybe she's selling pepper, you know, and then you go put her on the 5th floor. All of a sudden you've created an accommodation for her, but she's lost her business. So we had an engagement which we did in partnership with CRS to really think through with residents in Cockle Bay about what sort of housing would be ideal. But in order for us to go to the next level to construct that, that is a finance requirement. We haven't given up on it, but as I said, the housing mandate doesn't sit with council. And when it comes to, you know, full-scale affordable housing projects, that makes it tricky for somebody who doesn't have the mandate to just step in and be able to raise that funding internationally or even locally. My third question was the relationship between land governance and sanitation. Well, I think we've touched on it. When you have communities, as you've seen, that are not accessible, and by the way, Crew Bay is now accessible by road, and that's a road that we built. It's a road we built as part of our effort to build the school, because our partners in the construction, the funding of that school, said to us, if we spend, you know, $250,000 to build that school, which you've seen the pictures and it's now going up to a 3rd floor, if we spend that money and then there's a fire and there's no access, that is going to be just money lost. So we're going to stop the project until and unless you can convince the people. We will not give you any money. They give us no money. Yeah. So we sat down with the community, we discussed, we debated, and we concluded, homeowners concluded that they were prepared for their homes to be destroyed in order for the road to be created. We have done that. And there's a road now that goes into Crew Bay. But that relationship has meant that that road means some garbage can come out. But Crew Bay is so densely populated and so tight, the road goes to the field. But there are communities, there are homes beyond the field. If somebody dies in parts of Crew Bay, the hammock, the nakasake de Nicola, is it? No, it's not nakasake.
The bear.
The bearer. You can't hold it straight. You have to turn it on the side because it's so narrow. So that happens because people are able to build without a plan being in place before. So land governance, who owns land, how land is used, where we plan for, as Phoebe was saying earlier on in the break, you plan for your growth. You have the projection in 2018 that in the next 10 years you're going to have 2 million people. What does that mean? It means you ensure you've got the spaces. It means you ensure you put the road, even if you're not tarring the road, let it be clear that this is the access. No one can build here. No one can block the waterway. Today we're dealing with 45% of the residents in Freetown live in properties that are not accessible by road. You only have to look up at Mount Oriole. Somebody just posted on my Facebook page the other day, hey, the hillside bypass don't dirty again. Well, if that whole community of thousands of people cannot be accessed by road, when the rain comes, what do you think they do? They throw their garbage into the rain and it comes onto the hillside bypass. That is not how we structure growth in a city. And the city council is going behind the problem. What we need to do is to be structured so that we are preventative rather than responsive, because we will never be able to fully, adequately respond. So the relationship between land governance, when you devolve, and I will say this again, speaking to the executive director of UN Habitat, that has the UN responsibility for city development, for housing, in her words, she has never come across the situation that we have here in Sierra Leone, where it is the Ministry of Lands that would be responsible for issuing building permits nationwide. It's not logical. Ministries are policymakers. Implementation happens at the operational level of the local councils. When we get that right, when we plan so that we have in mind access for services, whether it's the fire force, whether it's sanitation workers, whether it's water provision, then we will have the city that we want. I'm going to close on this point. On Saturday, I went on a site visit. We're building 65 solar-powered water kiosks, 15 public toilets. We've done over 40 of the water kiosks, most of them on private people's land. We've only been able to finish two of the public toilets. Why? Because of lack of land availability. We will get there. We are signing MOUs with private people.
So the Freetown City Council doesn't even have land in Freetown?
City Council doesn't have land. And not only do we not have land, land has been so divvied up and sort of allocated, Allentown being a classic example, which was pretty much free land when we came in 2018. There was then a raffle draw, and that land was given away without any plans being put in place to ensure that we would have access roads, we would have opportunities for putting water, opportunities for public spaces, public toilets. When you divide, allocate land, and you don't plan access, you don't plan services, what you're really planning is chaos. And that is how land governance and sanitation services are connected.
You go over to you as we close. The question was, there was a community learning platform set up by your institution to educate people on behavioral change. Why is it not still working?
It's still working because the word community learning platform, how it forms, is to go to communities and take all walks of life. 20 can be a student, a soldier, a police, a teacher, and whatever. Bring them together in one community. You explain to them, we give them a week training on how you can come up with a problem. This problem can be explained within communities. And then you come up with a solution on how to solve the problem. And then at the end of the day, we have what we call the City Learning Platform, where we call the ministries and MDAs to sit with these community people and explain what their problems are and how can we transform those problems into solutions. You understand? So it's not me using the platform as a chairman, but the community themselves are using the platform as a community. So they are the ones that should come together and make sure they form, because we tell them, make sure you appoint people that have the time and courage to make sure they come up for their community and speak for their community. So if they are not working as a community, and then the question goes back to this community person. If you're a member of the community planning platform, what are you doing? Have you called those that are members of those communities to tell them that it's our responsibility? Sometimes we shy about our responsibility and put the blame to other people that think they are the one doing it. It's like government and NGO. Sometimes they bash at NGO people as if they are the one who should do everything. But we leave those that have the responsibility to keep the mandate of what we have to do. So for community learning platform, the communities have them. Moiba is using their own community learning platform. As I'm telling you now, I was there on Sunday, and they have a drainage that they are making. And they are making it because they think that the flooding is a problem for them, so they want to do a drainage. Now they are doing it. Because of the community learning platform, I'm meeting as a community. So if they are not meeting, it means it's the blame of the community themselves. So let this particular person just ask the community again. What are you community learning platform members are doing when we are not coming up with solutions to our problem we have to in the community.
All right, thank you very much, Yiga, and thank you very much, Madam Mayor, for joining us this morning. Now, we close on this front with this story from Susan's Bay. Across the world, more than 1 billion people live in informal settlements. According to the United Nations, they often lack the most basic services, clean water, sanitation, and accessible healthcare. In Sierra Leone, rapid urbanization continues to outpace everyday life, and public infrastructure communities such as Susan's Bay remain on the front line of poverty, disease, and climate vulnerability. As the rains gather over Freetown once again, residents say they are remembered only when disaster strikes. A reporter, Yero Jallo, has details of this special feature from Susan's Bay.
The narrow footpaths of Susan's Bay tells two stories. One is of hardship, the other is of remarkable resilience for deciding to live here. Stretching along Freetown's eastern coastline, Susan's Bay is home to an estimated 25,000 to 30,000 people according to recent data. It is one of Sierra Leone's largest informal settlements. Here, thousands live without reliable sanitation, health care, clean water, or secure housing. Life is lived on the edge, where every rainfall becomes a test of survival. In this community, women increasingly carry the economic burden of their households, working long hours to keep children in school and food on the table, while confronting rising living costs.
Country, yeah, this area, too rough for we. Because in the country, work no day. But couldn't they work? They all work no day. They make people they don't go astray too much. For the fun way for get money no easy. So right now, no one day chief. Because you not get inside for get money. Because if you work then day, at least anybody go able to manage it. Now look, now woman they try more for take care of man. Them not so now man for take care of woman. But we not there, work not there, money not there. So what's the woman and they manage, and the thing is rough for bad one. And then the whole now government to go for Apple pan for them and they for that solve.
We would plead no more to the people, the government, may them go help we, may them look to this community, Susan's Bay, who they suffer. Especially back with the woman, they may government help we, who they suffer to picking them business now there, until they suffer to picking them. May they help we with the woman, they more. Some of we now one parent's family, we not get man.
The World Health Organization says inadequate sanitation and unsafe water remain among the leading drivers of cholera, diarrhea diseases, and other unpreventable illnesses worldwide. UNICEF estimates that billions of people still lack safely managed sanitation services. Residents say those global statistics are their daily reality. Many households have no toilets. Human waste is often emptied into open drains. During the rainy season, flood water carries contamination through homes and footpaths, turning neighborhoods into breeding grounds of disease.
You go see now they vomit in the toilet. As you gonna go to an hospital and will not get toilets. Pass them go down in a waff. And some people go sit down the toilet, pass the clothes that don't see, but they're not gone. Because toilets not there, so they affect them, they vomit toilets. Pass you, if you're not going to go with an eye, you lost in life. Sometimes they go make them tell you they go reach with I don't lost in life. So all the challenges then they will get her. Yes, toilet facility will not get water. Yes. If you say you can go toilet na big waff, picking is a bit picking them now. Because they pan toilets, they pan clothes the ground. The dirty na ground. When you come in, they wash your just they can't take it to eat. So to they begin see how they vomit in the toilets. You go try for keep up, I know they able. As you go now, go sometimes some tell you they run with them for go find hospital for go save their life, then you don't die. So they get in challenges, then they boku.
You don't see. So pass to go like all the way Bombay and that. Yes, me, I be one lost me picking life. Me do this step. For go Bombay, me picking all week, me one and able. Pass me people and the whole and me and help me. If not so that, I for lost me picking life, me do this step then. You don't bless, you don't weak. Yes, Saturday. I don't know how I feel.
Healthcare remains another distinct promise. Susan's Bay has no fully equipped community health facility. Residents travel to neighboring communities for treatment, often paying transport costs they cannot afford. For pregnant women, sick children, and elderly, those delays can mean the difference between life and death. Community members say lives have been lost because medical help arrived too late.
Okay, no health center in this round of here. And people that don't take an as a ceremony. Who person sick here, then people and go to you go die. They say, who person sick here, who them people not the guy again because of no health center. Even the Belle woman, them who in Belle which is safer, once they manage it, they go to up. Well, it can be one. Sometimes before they reach 2 times, water don't pass carry. So sometimes if you not able to get it picking, or you not lost the money. So at the under constraint down.
Don't we not get health center. The deficits is them are better. But in I like community, not the community center, they suffer. When somebody sick una popam because I know what you do. For all of us, it's not better for take away that transport or for me to we are suffer. On then say in Italy for
malaria back there boko. I suppose to sick number after malaria.
Climate change has made an already fragile community even more vulnerable. The United Nations warns that informal settlements face disproportionate risks from flooding and extreme weather because of poor drainage and weak infrastructure. Susan's Bay knows this reality all too well. Blocked waterways filled with refuse overflow after heavy rain, homes are inundated, families lost possessions, disease spread where clean water disappears.
That it will quick. That when if you no more will not let this year, you sleep, no problem. If it's in January, February, March, April. Only those who they come on a call this man, them business people all night they send the dots. Blind now, control, rubber, every day is because why? But it works not again. When they don't flop, the first thing they come from our stand, buy some bed, we can pick us with barrow for body. Don't dig that dot. Get away for Dicate, Varijata, wouldn't can a problem.
More what they are walking, I wouldn't come if you meet up high water, then big rain come. That water to God, go the seed don't flop, go down the come up. When meet up, I think it bring problem for me.
There is another crisis unfolding quietly. Sierra Leone continues to grapple with the devastating spread of the synthetic drug known as kush. National health authorities have repeatedly warned that addiction is destroying young lives, fueling mental illness, unemployment, and families breakdown. Community leaders in Susan's Bay say the drug has reached many vulnerable young people already struggling with poverty and limited opportunities.
Well, like I talk, we don't they talk about good times there. For sake of this bad it, don't boku picking them boku runda and still the panam. But the people who they sell it in, they would blame, who they face and cap.
Who they send una to the government? Do let the EPUI release these drugs who don't come at this country. Okay, first chance, we dey take and beat them, but the police them, they hold people their back.
Beyond the sanitation and health challenge, community residents say access to electricity and clean, safe drinking water has been a major concern. They are calling on the government to come to their aid.
For residents, the appeal is simple. They are not asking for privilege. They are asking for fundamentals of human dignity: clean water, safe sanitation, quality health care, electricity, employment opportunities, and hope. Because communities should not have to wait for a tragedy before help arrives. Yero Jallo, AYV News, Freetown.
Thank you very much, Yero Jallo, for that report. Away from the slum conversation now, welcome back. This is Wake Up Sierra Leone here on AYV Television and Radio, and keep the comment section of AYV News Facebook page engaged. We're moving on to governance. Yesterday, the government, in a press release said they have reduced pump prices of petroleum products. Petrol dropped down from 35 leones to 32 leones, while diesel from 40 leones to 35 leones per litre. Despite the reduction, there are growing concerns. So this morning, to discuss the reduction, among other things, we have Edward Y. Kamara. He's the Secretary General of the Sierra Leone Labour Congress. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. I am the Deputy Secretary General.
Deputy Secretary General.
Deputy, okay. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
You issued a release as well yesterday as an institution expressing concern over the pump prices, the reduction in the pump prices. But on the flip side, the Minister of Information and Civic Education, Chenobad, took time to go to Facebook with a screenshot from what he says is a consultation with ChatGPT, saying that we seem to have it better here as compared to many other countries in Africa.
I will not disagree with him, but I will not appreciate that particular sentiment that he expressed, because over time we've used to comparing notes with our neighboring countries. I followed Edmond Abutru, and he was giving us insight into the reduction that has taken place in our neighboring countries. So why is it that when it comes to things that will benefit government directly, they will refer to other countries? But now the situation is that people are saying Liberia, Ghana, the Gambia, they've all reduced their price. Why is that? They don't want to listen to the cry of the people.
But they've reduced the prices.
Yeah, for which I acknowledge. But that was not the expectation.
What was the expectation?
For us, Labour Congress, we remember during the time we were negotiating the minimum wage. And one among our many parameters was the cost of fuel. During that negotiation, most of the employers raised concern to say we'll not be able to pay the minimum wage, taking into consideration the cost of doing business. And as all of us know, fuel is like the bloodline of the economy. Fuel affects many facets of life, even our own personal life. The way we pay the cost of transportation, some of us use generators in our houses. Businesses do rely on using fuel to run their operations because of the insufficient supply of electricity in the country. So we're looking at all those parameters. And during that discussion, we were with the opinion that fuel will not go beyond 28,500. Immediately after the negotiations, the price was shoot up from 28,500 to 30, from 30 to 35 and 40. So that took us aback to see we're trying to get the lives of workers in this country better, but it's like the government, which responsibility is to take care of its citizen, is not watching over the lives of citizens. I was in Sumbuya yesterday, and then I got some reports from some of the workers around that management is finding it difficult because of the cost of doing business. And one of them told me that just per day, they're spending over 500 liters of fuel. And there are many other organizations that are facing challenges with the cost of fuel. So us Labour Congress, we want to represent the voice of the many, the voice of the people, the voice of workers, the voice of employers, the voice of those doing business. But over time, we've been meeting with the president, and fuel has been one of our discussion over time. To say, Mr. President, things are not easy. Cost of doing business in the country is tough. Even during our May Day celebration, the recent one, which we held on the 1st of May, the Vice President was there. We brought all those things to him, that people's lives are not getting better. Businesses are facing serious constraints. If we continue this way, it will not yield good fruit for the country and for the people of this country. So what we did, we are not, I would say, an expert into the mathematics of fuel, but we follow people who do understand the dynamics. So over time,
and so far, what's your understanding of the dynamics?
Well, when we study this whole process, we have 3 affiliate member unions that are in that body. The bike riders, the motor, and the keke. But we come to realize that it's just like going to a meeting, waiting for an increase, and they themselves go and effect an increase. We hardly get information as to where they resisted the increase of prices. But what they would do is to, okay, if you don't increase on this, we said they're going to increase on this. At the end of the day, the population is not getting the required result from that committee. So that is why in one of the letter we wrote to the minister, we suggested for that committee to be expanded. Don't just limit the committee to the beneficiaries, the direct beneficiaries. If, for example, if you go to fuel stations to buy fuel, you hardly get a full liter of fuel. Because the sooner they start to pump the engine, you will see the reading goes to 20, 35, 40, and so on. At one particular time, I had to challenge the guys. Why is it that your gauge does not run from 1 to upwards, but just the sooner you put the pump in the vehicle, it goes up to 30, 45, and so. So we're having a challenge of not buying complete liter of fuel, and now we're having the challenge of price. So this dynamics has to change. We're saying it has to change. We understand with government, we understand the global crisis, but we also understand that when there is an upward trend, we show understanding. If there's a downward trend, we also expect government to show understanding and to listen to the voice of people.
The minister is saying in the next 2 weeks, there'll be another review. What are your expectations in the next 2 weeks for the next review?
Well, I was online with the information minister this morning. He did mention that the next 2 weeks. But we're saying now. We're saying now. Because the next 2 weeks, we don't want to rely on procrastination. Mm-hmm. When it was time for them to increase the fuel, bam, they did that. So why is now they're saying we'll have to wait for another 2 weeks to see X, Y, Z?
I'm going to read you a piece from someone on Facebook who, this individual has been one who has also consistently been critical of government on multiple occasions. But yesterday he posted, it's Jamie Yayabari. He says, I think say this gradual fuel reduction are a good thing. Right now, that global fuel markets, they thread on uncertainty. That one era not fully done yet. And that too, well, okay. For choice of words, he was referring to Trump and Netanyahu. Basically, he was saying that he thinks the reduction going gradually is a good idea because of the uncertainty of the same wars that is affecting the prices. He thinks it's better we go gradually than just a full swing reduction with uncertainties.
But why don't we go gradually when it rises again?
Yeah, I agree with him on the term uncertainty, which I also respect, the uncertainty of this particular war. You know, we're following the war anyway, but that's the point we're making. Yes, this is an impediment.
By the way, it's not me making a point. I'm
just
from
responding.
What Jamie Yayabari, someone who has also been critical of the government consistently. he was now siding with this decision. So I'm trying to get your opinion on what he says.
Let me reiterate again that we acknowledge the reduction, but we're expecting more. Nothing is wrong to expect more than what is given. We're also saying we agree with him on the uncertainty of this particular war. Maybe tomorrow they will start again, or after a week, or after 2 they will start again. But what we are saying is this. Yes, we graduated from 28, 30, 35. Can we move to 30? Can we move to 28 where we were? Whereas the country has agreed on that there's going to be a fluctuation because of the external factors. We're not against that. But when it comes to them reducing for the people, let them also be considerate. Because the movement from the side of the regulators and all the other stakeholders, they will just go and people just shock. So that's the shock we're having now. We were expecting that the last increment was 5,000. Can you take back the 5,000 and see what will be the reaction? But that's not what we get.
Edward, transport operators often refuse to lower prices in times like this. Now, we came from 25 to 28 to 30, and we are 35 because of the war between America and Iran and Israel. And now we're seeing better indicators, when it comes to the global oil price. We basically just shaved off 3 leones from the 35 leones.
2 leones.
2 leones. Will this mean transportation reduction? As you know, you have people who are part of the burden, feeling. Do you think keke riders, Okada riders, taxi drivers are going to reduce even 1 leone from what is already being paid?
As I speak, they maintain the same prices. None of them goes down. Because I was talking with somebody again, that whenever there's a call for a reduction, government will publish a press release and they will attach it with a cost for transport. But I've not seen that. So up to this morning, when I was driving along, I had to be very slow to see the trend. And what I saw was that there is no downward shift from the riders or the bike riders. Why is that? Maybe the leadership did not tell them, or those who were in that meeting just agreed that, can we just wait?
Was this reduction made in the interest, before bringing Esther for sport, was this reduction made in the interest of the people or in the interest of business people who are into oil and gas?
For me, I would say the interest of the people who are in the business. That's a fact. And most times we get some of these challenges with business people. But my call here is we have some employers organizations like the Employers Federation Sierra Leone, the Chamber of Commerce Sierra Leone, even though we haven't heard from them, but in most cases when we meet, because they are partners, we meet them to negotiate salary. As I speak, we are facing a very big challenge for management to adjust. I will tell you, you go to the telecom sector, you see the amount of fuel that they use every day. But has there been any reduction in their tariff? The answer is no. So they are also facing challenge. So government should consider that. For the populace, majority of the people of this country are complaining on the fear. Yesterday I was moving through Bo Pujeon to Freetown. I saw the challenges, the cost people pay just to move from one point to another. So these are all things government should take into consideration. I know some of them do receive fuel per week and others in their generators. So they are not getting the feel that some of us are getting. For which we want to say, let them put the people of this country in their heart. Because whatever they are doing is for the sake of the people. It's not for themselves. I remember there was a day we were having a conversation and then they were like saying, I am coming to this position because I want to serve the people. It is these same people that are calling on you now to say, yes, 2,000 is fine, but can you please go further? Can you do further reduction? So as Labour Congress, we continue to call on them to say things are not getting better in the country, and petrol, which we consider as one key parameter that moves the economy, needs to be looked into thoroughly.
Right, continue to stay with us, Edward. In the studio, we've been joined by our sports correspondent, Esther Marie Samoa. Good morning, Esther. Welcome.
Good morning, Bokai. And for our sport updates this morning, Rangers are champions of the 2025-2026 Sierra Leone Men's Premier League following a hard-fought 1-0 win against relegation-threatened side Diamond Stars Football Club. The match was staged at the Southern Arena in Bo. George Batilopawe has more.
The decisive moment came in the 75th minute when defender Lamin Cabo found the net, ensuring all 3 points for Bo Rangers and leaving Diamond Stars in jeopardy with just 2 fixtures remaining. This latest success marks Bo Rangers' 4th league title in 5 seasons. With this win, Bo Rangers have widened the gap at the top to 7 points ahead of their nearest challengers, Star Sports Academy. Their triumph also means automatic qualification for the CAF Champions League preliminary rounds.
Hearty congratulations to Bo Rangers winning the Sierra Leone Men's Premier League 4 times in 5 years. Well, away from that is the Lions Football Club, champions of the Sierra Leone Football FA Cup, has also defeated top rivals mighty Blackpool 5-0 in the Sierra Leone Men's Premier League. And this is a testament of the outstanding performance in the FA Cup finals, as the executive committee of the team commended the boys for putting up such a brilliant performance. And they've also left mighty Blackpool fighting for the relegation spot. Well, quickly in the ongoing World Cup, we've seen exciting results so far. 4 teams have made their way to the round of 16, including the co-host, Canada. We saw also Brazil winning against Japan yesterday by 2-1. Morocco also secured a 3-2 win against Netherlands following a 1-1 draw. Before regulation time, it was a tight encounter, but Diop scored the equalizer for Morocco, and at the end of the day, the match ended in a 1-1 draw, and they've secured a spot in the round of 16. Well, South Africa also out of the campaign after losing by a goal to 0 to Canada. It was indeed a tough one for the Bafana players. But that's it for sport updates. Over to you, Phoebe and Bokai.
Thank you very much, Esther Marie Samoa, for the sports update. And in a few seconds, as we round off, Edward, your final words to the government.
We're expecting His Excellency back in Freetown. We'll engage him and we'll get back to the country, to the members of this country.
All right, then. Thank you very much for making time to be with us. We'll follow the conversation and see where this ends. But this is where we'll have to end today's edition.
Yes, of course, this is why we have to enter this edition of Wake Up Sierra Leone. We say many thanks to our sponsors, our key sponsor, Local Commercial Bank, and other advertisers for their support to the program. To our audience, we appreciate your time. Until we meet again tomorrow for another exciting edition of Wake Up Sierra Leone, I am Bokari Matia.
And I am Phoebe Sweel. Have a lovely day. Bye for now.
Make the sky